All right, let's jump right in. Imagine this. It's your first day on the job at a pretty cool stationery shop. You're eager to impress, ready to show off those Python skills, and your new manager comes over with your very first assignment.
And there it is. The gauntlet has been thrown down. Your manager wants this whole comprehensive summary, but here's the kicker. You only get 5 lines of code to do it. This is a classic kind of coding puzzle. It's not about writing tons of code, it's about writing the right code. The stakes are set.
Okay, so where do we even begin? Well, before you type a single character of code, the absolute most important first step is to just stop and think. We've got to break this problem down. A clear plan is always the key to a clear solution.
So what are we actually working with? The manager gave us what amounts to 3 receipts. In Python, we can represent this data as a tuple, which, hey, is just a fancy way of saying a list that you can't change. And inside that tuple are a few dictionaries. Each dictionary holds the info for one order: the customer, their region, what they bought, how many, and the price. This is our raw data.
So let's take that big request from the manager and chop it up into a simple to-do list. First up, we need to figure out the revenue for each separate sale. Then, we need to figure out who our biggest customer is. And finally, we'll wrap it all up in that nice, formatted summary. 3 clear goals. Let's knock them down one by one.
All right, first things first, let's tackle item number 1 on our list, calculating the revenue for each of these individual orders. This is just some simple multiplication, units times price, and it's really the foundation for everything that comes next.
So for that first order from Acme Co., we've got 10 notebooks at $4.50 a pop. That gives us $45. Easy.
Next, we've got Bright LLC. They bought 50 pens at 80 cents each, so that comes out to an even $40.
And last but not least, Acme Co.'s other order. That's 20 pens at 85 cents each, which is $17. So boom, we have our 3 key numbers: 45, 40, and 17.
All right, time to write some code. For our very first line, we're just going to take those 3 numbers we just calculated and pop them into a Python tuple called revenues. And just like that, line 1. Done. 4 more to go.
And this is where Python is just awesome. Now that all our revenues are in one neat little package, getting the grand total is a piece of cake. Python has this handy built-in sum function that does exactly what you think it does. We just point it at our revenues tuple, and that's it. Line 2 is in the bag. Super clean, right?
All right, 2 lines down and we've already got our total revenue. So what's next on the list? We've got to figure out who our top customer is, who spent the most cash with us.
But if you look closely at the data, there's a little trick here. Bright LLC only has 1 order, right? But look at Acme Co. They show up twice. So we can't just pick the biggest single order. We've got to add up everything they spent. That's the key to this stay.
So let's do that quick math. We take their first order of $45 and add it to their second order of $17. And that brings their grand total to $62. So, sorry Brights LLC, but Acme Co. is definitely our top customer. We've found our winner.
And now we commit that to code. Line 3 is all about storing that result. We'll make a new tuple. We'll call it top customer. And we'll put their name, Acme Co., and their total spend, 62, right in there. Perfect. All of our number crunching is officially done.
Okay, so we've done all the heavy lifting, right? We've crunched the numbers, we know who's on top. The last big step is to assemble all these pieces into that single, slick summary string that the manager wanted. This part is all about making it look good. And our tool for the job is one of my favorite features in Python, the f-string. Seriously, if you're not using these, you should be. Think of it like a fill-in-the-blanks puzzle. You write out your text and just drop in little placeholders where you want your variables to go. It makes building strings so easy. And this brings us to line 4. Now, I know, it looks a little intimidating, it's a bit of a monster, but it's still just one single line of code. See that little F at the very beginning? That tells Python it's an F string. And then inside the quotes, you can see all those curly braces. That's where we're plugging in our total revenue variable, the top customer's name, their spending. We're even doing the math for the regions right inside the string itself. Incredibly powerful. And now for the big finish, the 5th and final line. And it's the easiest one of all. All that beautiful work is sitting in our summary variable. All that's left to do is show it to the world. And for that, we just use the simple print function. All right, we've walked through each piece one by one. Now it's time for the grand reveal. Let's put it all together and look at the complete, beautiful 5-line solution that solves our manager's challenge.
And there you have it. That's the whole thing. 5 lines of code. And you can see how each line maps perfectly back to our original plan, right? First, calculate the individual revenues. Then, sum them up. Then, find the top customer. Format the output. And finally, print it. It's clean, it's efficient, and anyone can read it and understand what's happening.
And when we run that code, this is what pops out. It's exactly what the manager asked for. A perfect, at-a-glance summary. You've got the total revenue, the top customer is right there with how much they spent, and you've got the regional breakdown. Job done. Mission accomplished. So let's zoom out for a second. What's the real lesson here? I mean, sure, we wrote 5 lines of Python, but that's not the point. The real skill we used here is a universal problem-solving technique. When we were hit with that big, complex request, we didn't just start coding wildly. We stopped. We thought. We broke the big problem down into tiny, solvable pieces. And by tackling each little piece, the whole giant problem just melted away.
And that's really the idea I want to leave you with. This break-it-down approach, it's not just for coding. It's for everything. Planning a project, writing an essay, fixing something that's broken. So the real question isn't about Python, it's about you. What's the next big, complicated thing in your life that you can conquer by just breaking it down into smaller, simpler steps?